You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
Welcome to episode 138 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is the blonde bomber, the Statesboro slasher, Jessica Szilagyi.
Are you allowed to say any of those things anymore? Especially given the stories we're going to talk about
Blonde bomber or slasher? Probably not.
Those are
but I'm an awful person, as we discussed before the show.
Fact check, true.
Now we're off of Facebook. We want to mention, but before we get into that, Jessica, how was your week? I'm just flying ahead.
Yeah. My week was fine other than the debate. How was your week?
Not bad. Obviously, getting back from sitting by the pool was awesome. But last week Allie was in the kennel, and I do want to give a big thanks to the Regal Beagle out here who called us when she got sick, then transported her over to the vet. We have a wonderful vet at East Paulding Animal Hospital who admitted her and found out she had an infected tooth.
Really?
And the good news about that is, yeah. But we were able to treat it.
Yes.
And as soon as she got on the antibiotics for a couple days, her appetite started coming back. Oddly enough, when your mouth hurts, you don't want to eat.
Shocking.
Yeah, shocking. So yeah, she had lost a couple pounds, and ever since she got on the antibiotics, she's been wanting, seconds and thirds on her foods, which, being a sucker and, being an older dog, and being a fat guy myself, I'm like, you want more food? You can have more food. You're
As
old.
you should.
Here.
You should never tell a woman she can't have any more food.
Lord, no. You should definitely get that banana split. Tiramisu? Absolutely.
Please.
Yeah. No, that's what your gay friend is for. Goes, sweetie, do you need the whole thing? And Dave has now pissed off another minority group.
Yeah. Pass.
We want to mention Big Daddy Unlimited. Yeah, the sponsor for the show. Big thanks to them. They are your direct source for guns, ammunition, accessories, hunting accessories, tree stands, anything else that you can think of that is outdoors, gun related. Great source for them. As ammo becomes available, as guns move back into the market, you will find Big Daddy is a better source because they source around the country rather than going to your local gun store. Purchase a gun, they ship it directly to your gun store. You fill out a 4473 and do a transfer, do the background check, and you leave with your brand new toy.
I do want to say something.
Big thanks to Big Daddy Unlimited.
Yes, and I do want to say something about them really quick, just because I've talked about how that I did buy a revolver through them, and it was super easy and probably the most simple process for purchasing a gun that I've ever had so far. However, the thing I love about them right now is that they have the email alerts for ammo, and so you can just set different things that you're looking for, whether it's practice rounds or hollow point or whatever you're looking for. You can set an email alert, and you'll be first in line. I mean, it's first come first serve, of course, but you get an email alert that it's back in stock, and then you can go purchase it, which is nice when you're scouting stuff, because trying to remember to check all the sites all the time, it just doesn't work. So that's my plug for the week, because I like how they do that.
Outstanding. Now, we do want to do the obligatory mention of the VP debate. Jessica, did you watch it?
I did, and I will say that it was easier to watch than the presidential because of there wasn't as much interrupting, and there wasn't as much you could at least follow the line of conversation. But Mike Pence didn't answer a single question, and Harris, she just is condescending, and it irritates me to watch her.
Her face when I don't think she knew she was on a split screen. That could be the only excuse I have for is that she didn't understand that every viewer all 15 viewers that tuned into that thing could see her facial expressions every time.
Are you talking about like as Pence was talking, or when because she did make a lot of he laughed at one of her statements and it was audible, and she looked at him and gave him this like eat and die, but then like almost like don't interrupt me with your chuckles, but then she was laughing through his entire answers. But that wasn't so much what bothered me as when the way that she would look at him and the tone she had when she would say, "I'm speaking right now. I'm speaking. I'm talking." Like, you're not his mother.
Yeah, I think that the presidential candidates, or the president and the candidate, need to watch that debate and understand that's how you put points out. You don't talk over each other. You don't yell. You don't call each other names. I thought Pence did a good job of breaking out of that image we have of him, of just being this silent, mealy mouth kind of guy. And he reminded us that he was the governor of a state, and he's done this before.
Yes, that's true.
Sorry, Jess.
No, I was just going to say, have you heard any of the rumbles, I guess you could say, that the next debate is going to be not in person?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That just can't happen. One, I've seen local debates done on Zoom. They don't work well. You also get the impression that people are feeding answers. You have people off camera.
Mm-hmm.
When you're standing at a podium and it's just the two of you, that's it. No one's feeding you answers. You have to just like...
I agree.
Yeah, if you come up with a statistic, it's got to come out of your head. So I don't like the idea of a Zoom debate. If they want to push the debate back until Trump tests negative, or once he tests negative, or I don't care if they put him in isolation bubbles or whatever, but they both need to be seen. In my opinion, they both need to be seen, not on a Zoom call, not where someone can sit there. I'm old, with a dry erase board and hold something up or put something into a teleprompter that's right to the side of the Zoom camera. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good look.
I agree.
And if there are any sort of technological problems, the conspiracy theories will just fly.
Oh, it'd be a nightmare.
So we spent more time on the quick mention of the VP debate. We do want to get to Georgia setting records for political spending in 2020. $150 million has been spent or reserved so far on airtime for the state's 2 Senate races. That doesn't include presidential candidate spending or any of the congressional races. Through only the 6th and 7th seem to be hotly contested. Though only the 6th and 7th. I can't even read what you write for me.
It's okay. I'm used to it. I'm a huge proponent of the idea that money is speech, and so we shouldn't cap how much someone can donate. And I'm not a fan of PACs. I've never donated to a PAC, but I think they do serve certain purposes. Sometimes I think they've gone beyond their scope of an intention, I think, a lot of times. But $150 million between 2 Senate races, and we're not even done. That is a lot of money that could be spent on something valuable.
Well, the problem I have with PACs is, and I agree with you, that money is political speech, but McCain-Feingold ruined that. Used to be you could donate as much as you want to a candidate, and it was out in the open. Is if I donate $10,000 to whoever's campaign, they know that money came from me, and it's out in the open. With a PAC, they don't have to disclose who puts the money in. So it could come from anywhere. Mm-hmm. And there are motions within the state to to open that up, make PAC reporting, political election committee donations open and available for the public. And that would come in useful when you have vague attacks coming from political action committees that no one's ever heard of, and you just get a flyer in the mail or you get a robocall or something like that. That you could go back and see, well, who's behind this? Not just who's on the board, but because they could find any idiot to go sit on the board of a PAC, but who's behind this? Who's actually funding this attack?
But $150 million, they're not even the commercials. I mean, you mentioned before the show that you've seen a couple good commercials in the sixth, but that's not that we're not talking about their financing. But the commercials that I've seen from David Perdue have been terrible. Kelly Loeffler's commercials have been terrible. John Ossoff's, I haven't really seen anything that's like mega impressive. And Warnock, I mean, he's not saying anything that is political. It's all emotion driven. So the amount of money that's being spent to actually do nothing is...
Yeah.
terrible.
At least with the candidates, they say that I approve this message. They're saying this came from me to separate them from the PACs. Yeah, the Ossoff stuff, look, he's unimpressive. He's just blah.
Well, you've never
really,
been a fan
really,
of him.
really. I'm not, but he just wants the job so bad. He wants he wants to be in Washington so bad. But he just, I mean, the bully in me just wants to take him out and give him a wedgie. Just a weenie.
Nice.
Like, I'll fight for you. Really? I'll take somebody in a higher weight class, please.
Dave.
What?
Oh, Lord.
I guess this goes back to me being an awful person.
Welcome to episode 135 of 138, excuse me, of The Terribles.
Of The Terribles, exactly. Teachers are bitching again. In a lawsuit filed Wednesday in Fulton County Superior Court, the Georgia Association of Educators, maybe if they did a better job, I could say the word, say Governor Brian Kemp, state education officials, DPH Commissioner Kathleen Toomey, and Paulding County school officials were reckless by opening school buildings during COVID-19 pandemic as the school year started.
Okay, my first question is, if we have given businesses immunity from the standpoint of not true immunity, but if they post the sign and say that, and they take reasonable precautions and all this thing, and then people are coming in there willingly, why is the same standard not for this?
And look, I'm in Paulding County. The students were given a choice. The parents were given a choice whether or not to send their kids to school. The teachers have a choice every morning when that alarm goes off, whether or not they go to work that day. They're not obligated. They may be emotionally and morally obligated to go do their job, but they're not legally obligated to get up and go to work. They can quit. If this is not good for you, if you feel your health is in danger,
or they can go work for a school district that is doing virtual learning.
Yeah, or they can do anything. I mean, go work the checkout at Target. Oh wait, that's not safe either. Well, they could go work in the courts. Oh wait, that's not safe either. Maybe they can go into law enforcement. Oh wait, they see a bunch of people too. That's not safe either. Guess what? Every job is dangerous. Every job has exposure. Unless you have a job where you can sit in your house and not see anybody and do everything virtually, every job has exposure. Hell, every time you go to the grocery store, you have exposure. So if your job is just to live in a bubble, go do that. Or if that's the best decision for your life, if you're at risk, take a year off. Take a furlough. Do whatever you need to do to protect your health. Because you are in charge of your damn health, not me. And the kids of the county shouldn't suffer because you are at high risk. If you're at high risk, get out of the way. Protect yourself. Good God.
I just am... I think this is kind of late to the game. And we're kind of past that. I mean, I feel like we're all still getting numbers, and a lot of school districts are releasing data, about what's going on across the district on a weekly or biweekly basis. But I mean, what is the true end goal?
I have no idea. I would guess that the union wants more control. Their end game is they will dictate how schools are run, not the people, not the people that are elected in these individual districts, not our duly elected governor. They will control how the schools run. Well, that has to be the end game.
More importantly, though, not even those people. We're talking about the parents, because the parents had a choice.
Absolutely.
If no parent wanted to enroll their child in in-person learning, everything would have been virtual.
The majority of students and parents I've talked to are happy. Believe me, most of the parents, after having their kids for 8 months or whatever, like, please, yeah, we'll take the risk. We'll roll the dice. Go to school.
Mm-hmm.
My niece is in high school, and she was really upset with the possibility that she wouldn't be able to go to school. One, it's interaction with her friends. The other is she's big into FFA.
Mm-hmm.
They raise an animal every year, and you obviously can't do that online. You can't really do FFA and say, okay, we're going to play Oregon Trail today, and we're going to talk about keeping our oxen alive. No, this is stuff that she does in person with her friends that she really enjoys. And these, especially the older kids, even the younger kids, when they're out of school, they're not isolated.
No, they were going to Walmart with their parents.
Not just that, they're going to play with their friends. They're going to play in baseball. They're being kids, and I'm not banging on them for that. That should be what they're doing, is go and be kids. We are already raising generations of kids who are socially inept because they don't interact with people in person, do everything online. Now we're going to tell them, now the 8 hours a day you get to interact with people in person, we're going to do online. Man, it's an absurdity. The pandemic, you have a 99% chance of surviving. The crisis that we had at the beginning with hospital beds, with ventilators, with all this stuff has passed. So we need to move on. We have to move on with life. We have to move on with work in this country. And you and I were talking before the show, this is off topic, but people talk about canceling Halloween. These kids only have so many that Halloween's magical for them. The first couple, they don't know what's going on. First, 3? They're just kind of fumbling around. Obviously, the first one, they're being carried. Then you have 5 or 6 years where it's really magical, where they really have a good time before they become preteens and they start getting cynical. They only have so many years of school. Besides the learning, just the interaction with other kids, they only have so much time to mature before we consider them adults. And we've already snatched the better part of a year from them.
Well, I do hope that when they lose, that they are required to reimburse for time and resources of all that they're draining in this lawsuit, because, I mean, this is just over the top, and it's it should be thrown out immediately, but it won't be.
Nope, and it'll continue to make news. Speaking of making news, guess who made bail?
Who, Dave?
Derek Chauvin.
What?
The former officer charged in the killing of George Floyd was released from jail on $1 million bond.
As he should be.
And Jessica, first things first.
Yeah. I love how the media was talking about how he was released on bond from prison. Okay, nobody, unless you're on parole and you immediately go back to prison because you're on parole, everyone else is in jail. No one's in prison. He wasn't released from prison. If you don't know the difference, don't be in the media. Like, words matter. Really irks me. Prison is where you go for a year or more after you've been sentenced. Jail is where innocent people await a trial.
Absolutely. And where people spend less than a year. Of course, attention whore and attorney Ben Crump, who's representing the Floyd family and is the racial version of Gloria Allred, who flies around the country anytime there is any sort of perceived wrongdoing by police, is quoted. Derek Chauvin's release on bond is a painful reminder to George Floyd's family that we are still far from achieving justice for George. The system of due process worked for Chauvin and afforded him his freedom while he awaits trial. In contrast, George Floyd was denied due process when his life was ended over a $20 bill. There was no charge, no arrest, no hearing, no bail, just execution. Although George Floyd was denied justice in life, we will not rest until he is afforded full justice in death. The civil litigation team looks forward to our day in court.
What a disgusting and anti-justice system. That is a disgusting quote.
It is. And it's the same people who are calling for bail reform.
Yeah. Anybody else, you would want them to be out because they haven't been convicted.
Right. We have the same politicians who are calling for bail reform and calling the imprisonment of people who can't afford to make bail and pointing their fingers are now saying, well, we've convicted him in the court of public opinion. Therefore, he should be in jail. Look, his conditions are not light. He can't leave. He cannot work in law enforcement. He cannot own firearms.
Well, we talked about this.
And I don't know.
We talked about this in the very beginning, like that it was safer for him to be in jail and in solitary and in isolation and all of that initially because he's a sitting duck if he can't defend himself. I believe, it's public record where he's going to go. It's dangerous for him to be out. Not that anyone cares.
Right. And he's accountable. It's $1 million is not a small amount of money. If he skips, there will be a lot of people wanting to collect $1 million. Well, the 100,000 you get for bringing him in.
Mm-hmm.
So he has not been convicted, other than the court of public opinion, and he may not be convicted at all.
Not on these charges.
I think he's way overcharged because the DA was more worried about appeasing the mob than actually looking for justice for George Floyd. Speaking of more attorneys, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison issued the following statement. We have received news that Derek Chauvin has been released on bail. In Minnesota, all offenses are eligible for bail, and all defendants have a constitutional right to post bail. We expect Mr. Chauvin to abide by all conditions the court has imposed on his release and attend all hearings and the trial. We urge everyone to remember that the process of justice is moving forward. His release will have no effect on our pursuit of justice.
Perfect answer.
I think it lays out I don't even say lays out the case. It lays out a perfect explanation of we are obligated to let him out. We are a free society, and Derek Chauvin has rights. He has rights as an individual who is charged with a crime. And you know what? He will have rights even if he is convicted of a crime. He has rights. And if we deny it to him, we deny it to other people. Justice has to be blind and it has to be even-handed.
Always.
But you know who doesn't give a damn about that?
Tell us.
Representative Ian Omar. She also issued a statement. Unjust system. Black men across the country sit in jail without having been convicted of a single crime and for nonviolent crimes. Meanwhile, everyone involved in the murder of George Floyd has been released, including the man who knelt on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Young black men are 50% more likely to be detained pre-trial than white defendants. Average bail for black-brown defendants is twice as high, and they're less likely to afford it. We can't fix our broken justice system without fixing our broken bail system.
Where do I start? There's lots of people sitting in jail, and we can have the conversation about sitting in jail before a crime has been, or before a conviction, and for how long, and how much it would cost for those people to get out, and what happens when those crimes are nonviolent. We can have that conversation all day long, but I will never have that conversation just about black men.
She's kind of mixing her statement here. One is he should be held. The other is he should be held because other people are held.
Yeah, that's always the argument. We've had it bad, or this person's had it bad, so everyone should have it bad. No, a real advocate for justice and a real advocate for reform advocates for a better system for everyone.
And of course, I love your quote here. Who told her anyone wanted her opinion?
Well, I mean, here we are on a podcast offering our opinions, and I recognize that, but her perspective is, it's frustrating when members of Congress and our senators and other political figures take on issues like this in such a biased way. Like, she has a platform. Use your platform to discuss improvements for the system, not because of George Floyd. Like, I don't agree with the avenue here.
Yeah, she really doesn't understand where she's going with it. Now, if she's saying that everyone should be able to afford bail, and bail should be proportional to, one, the crime, and two, the ability of the defendant to pay, that's fine. We can have that conversation. That's a very intelligent conversation to have. But here's the thing. She needs to stay in her box. This is a state issue.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a federal issue. He's not charged with a federal crime. If this was him making bail in a federal case, her opinion may hold some water, but this is a state issue. This is a state sovereignty issue. They are the ones trying him. They're the ones who had their police officer charged. They're the ones who lost their citizen. They are in charge of it, and their state constitution is the one that hands out that puts down the conditions for bail, and that all defendants are due bail regardless of crime they're accused of.
Mm-hmm.
Get in your lane. I do need to mention these are our opinions and not necessarily those of All on Georgia, and certainly not those of any All on Georgia reporter not appearing on the show, and not any opinion of our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. We don't want anything that I say to reflect on them because I'm an awful person.
Poor Connie.
Poor Connie. FBI says Michigan anti-government group plotted to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
This is a crazy story. This is, I mean, I know it's happening and I know it's real, but man, it's just, it is bizarre.
Oh, this is a movie plot.
Yes.
13 people have been were charged Thursday in alleged domestic terrorism plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Authorities say the Wolverine Watchmen militia group was also on a mission to attack the state capitol and targeted police officers at their homes as part of a broader mission to instigate a civil war. The group hoped to carry this mission out before the November 3rd election and try her for treason.
A lot to unpack.
It is. It is. And of course, the 6 who plotted the coup and kidnapping are now facing life in prison.
And then the other 13, or the other 7 of the 13, are
providing material support for terrorist acts, a 20-year felony, and a felony firearm.
pretty serious charges.
Yeah, I mean it's nutty. I one of the reasons, and of course, I'm in a bunch of different firearms groups, but whenever the term militia comes up, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
First of all, okay, militia. Under the Second Amendment and in the 18th century vernacular, a militia is every man of fighting age. So it's like 18 to 40 or something like that. A militia was under the theory of posse comitatus, which is you could raise an army, you could raise a posse from the citizenry, and an armed citizenry was important to have that. Is if a sheriff or a local militia leader who was designated by the government say, okay, I need every citizen who's got a gun to come out here and help us defend our town. I need every man with a gun to help us chase down this outlaw. That's where the term militia comes from. A bunch of fat rednecks running around the woods in mismatched camo is not the constitutional definition of militia. And it disgusts me that the two ideas are confused. That people think that those idiots that go around saluting each other in the woods are somehow a constitutional militia. That's not the case.
I agree. But they're already blending, the media and activists are already blending them together.
And they have been for the last 50 years. Because they want that to be the case. They want number one, they want the idea of a militia to mean National Guard. And the National Guard is not the militia. The National Guard is the state's military. The militia, again, according to the Constitution, is now it would be every citizen of fighting age that's physically capable of grabbing a firearm and going and defending the town, defending the state, defending the country. That's our militia. So if we talk about militia, you and I are both militia members. We're both of fighting age and physically capable and own firearms. So these morons, and I hate when gun owners get looped in with these idiots. This obviously wasn't a very good plot. And they obviously didn't have very good OPSEC, operational security, if the information of the plot got out. Now it sounds like I'm trying to give them notes on how to do it better next time.
The way that the government took them down was pretty fascinating too.
Yeah, of course, I was to say all our residents of Michigan, except for, and I quote Jessica, one homeboy from Delaware.
Well, I just kind of thought he was kind of out of place. I mean, I'm sure that they connect. I mean, we connect with people from all over the place, but it just made me laugh a little that he's the only one and he's from Delaware of all places.
You have to assume either he originally from Michigan or family or something. I maybe this one from Delaware, it was the leak.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's from Michigan. They're looking around the one guy from Delaware. Huh? Who talked? Who here is not a Wolverine?
Dun, dun, dun.
The feds say the plot was bigger than kidnapping. It was a Civil War attempt. The group was allegedly conducting surveillance outside Whitmer's vacation residence using code language and encrypted messages to throw off police and planting a bomb under a bridge to divert law enforcement. Okay. They're going to use code language. Yeah. And encrypted messages. As if intelligence units couldn't possibly break the code written by a bunch of mouth breathers from the backwoods of Michigan. We broke the damn enigma. You think we can't figure that one out?
Well, and I think that some of the comments are like they were used to oh my gosh, they used encrypted communication tools and they used code words and they did this and one guy bought a taser. I understand that it's unlawful to do that, but the other things aren't unlawful and I feel like it's been the rhetoric is that using encryption is somehow not right.
Right. Oh, absolutely. You have a right to encrypt your information. You have a right to your privacy. But the idea that using code words somehow makes them more legitimate, that makes the threat more legitimate. I mean, people with buying drugs have been using code words for years. The police have figured out that when someone gets a phone call saying the Eagle has landed, okay, he's got the drugs. Like, no one's fooled. In fact, with the military, troops are told not to use personal code. We have, I say we, a long time ago it was a we, have encryption on our communications, on our commo. Not to use code, because you're not going to hide anything from the enemy by using code. There's nothing that you and I can come up with that someone's not going to be able to break. Because to somehow make that makes it more legitimate or scarier, or we need to crack down, because that's going to be the next thing, is we need to crack down on encryption. You're exactly right. Is this case will be used to start pushing that rock off that slippery slope. So federal investigators involved paid undercover informants and 200 state and federal law enforcement officials. They executed search warrants in more than a dozen cities around the state, according to sworn FBI affidavit. An undercover law enforcement source attended a June meeting in Dublin, Ohio, where a group call of Michigan-based militia members discussed overthrowing the state's governments. They believed they were violating the U.S. Constitution.
That's another problem I have. There's this heavy reliance on the beliefs that I think that's a perfect way to say it. The focus on their beliefs versus their plans and their actions is convoluted and is getting intertwined in a way that it shouldn't be. There are lots of people who know that the government is violating the U.S. Constitution, and holding that belief does not mean that you are an extremist or partaking in these types of activities, or meeting in trap doors in basements and things of the sort. It's the actions that cross the line. Like, it's okay to think the government is violating the Constitution. That is an okay thing to do. And I resent the media and the people on particularly the left right now who are insinuating that it's wrong to hold that belief.
Absolutely. And look, I've been railing against it with the COVID lockdowns. Unconstitutional. The forced quarantine if you go from state to state. You can't restrict travel from state to state. I was looking at going to Hawaii, and they're bouncing back and forth whether to require people who arrive in Hawaii to quarantine for 2 weeks. You can't do that. That doesn't mean I'm going to go kidnap the governor of Hawaii. So yeah, getting the media, and honestly the government, loves to paint with a broad brush and get into the beliefs that obviously if you agree with this, and this, you agree with that. And it's possible to hold two thoughts in your head at one time. At least it should be. To both say this plot was absurdly wrong, was a crime, and say, you're right, that governor is a bit of a D-bag. I think she's the governor that said that you could open up boating, but not motorboats, only rowboats and sailboats. Look, she's a piece of work. And if she's violated the Constitution, there are ways to have her impeached, remove her from office. And
there are some groups that are already working on that, I think, in as peaceful and the least emotional way that they can.
And this goes back to a conversation from last week with being able to sue your government. There should be a resource for citizens who see, look, this is wrong. This is a violation of the state and federal constitution, and file that lawsuit and have her actions curbed, or have her removed from office, or work on defeating her in the next election. There are ways for us to do that. There are protections in our Constitution. When the really smart people that set up our government, they put those means available, and letting blood is the last resort. And I don't know what they thought what they were going to accomplish. That they're going to somehow incite these 13 people are going to go running out with their ARs, go, and everybody else in the country go, yeah, us too, and we'll all capture our governors. No, that's not what happens. What happens is you lay on a gurney just like Timothy McVeigh did, and you get a needle in your arm. But the FBI did some pretty good intelligence work. I'm with you. I don't necessarily like the quote about the meetings and what they were saying about it being people being. I don't even know if it's anti-government. And these people may be actually anti-government.
Wait, hold on. Let's even go a little bit further in clarification. Not anti-government. Like, they are in favor of zero government.
Right.
They have no room for authority or order. It's truly like individual rule, not just self-governance of be in charge of your daily affairs and things. Like, if you want to try someone outside of the justice system as is, like when there are avenues for all of those things already, I think you're a radical.
Well, yeah, beyond a radical, you're an insurgent.
Right.
This makes them no better than the ISIS fighters that were cutting off heads. We judge you to be wrong. We judge you to be an enemy of Islam. So we're going to cut your head off. So I don't even know what the end game was here. So after they try her and obviously find her guilty, what are they going to do? Release her with a note pinned to her jacket that says, "Please put me in jail. I'm wrong." No, the end game was this was a plot to execute her.
You think?
Has to be. What's the end game? What do you do after you try her?
You think that they just didn't really release that because of the... I mean, I think that would send some people over the edge in fear, understandably so.
Maybe. And it may be something that they hold something back for trial. But the logical end of capturing a public official and then trying her for treason, that the logical end of that is a rope.
That's frightening.
But there's no, they don't have the means to imprison her. They can't give her 5 years and then parole her. They don't have the means. The logical end of that is to drag her out and hang her. And there's nowhere else to go with it. This was a plot to capture and murder the governor of a state. And when you're on the wrong side of an insurgency, guess what? You lose.
Well,
and I would not be shocked to see them tried for treason.
It's been a long time since somebody's been tried for treason like that.
Rosenberg's? Or was that espionage?
How long ago was that?
Oh, that was the 50s.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not obviously not on the Google machine right this second to get the exact date and what they were charged with, but I think that's probably the last trial that I can remember of treason.
The Googles says that treason could not be charged because the United States was not at war with the Soviet Union at the time. So it was espionage. So I guess they can't be tried for treason here.
Well, they can because they went into open rebellion against the government.
Well, that's true. It'll be interesting. I'm sure that obviously the charges that have unlike the fools that we see in Georgia and in Minnesota, the federal government here, I think, took a very measured approach to charges and can obviously come back and take before a grand jury much different charges. They didn't overcharge at all. There's a lot of room for growth.
Well, but we've spoken before about the difference between a U.S. attorney and a district attorney. The U.S. attorneys are very, very concerned with batting average. They do not overcharge. They do not want to lose a court. It is a huge black eye for them to lose in court. District attorneys will overcharge in order to win a re-election. And that's the key difference. I think U.S. attorneys tend to be more professional and more measured in their approach, and they want charges that will stick. And obviously there are some district attorneys around. Paul Howard in Atlanta, for a prime example, will overcharge in order to run a campaign ad of "I'm looking out for you." Jackie Johnson, yes, they will overcharge so that they have something a banner they can wave, because they're more concerned with their next election. And I don't know what the cure for that is on the state level, other than holding our elected officials accountable. But when somebody like Chauvin walks because he's overcharged, that's good. Minnesota's going to burn when that happens. If and when that happens, Minnesota's going to burn again. So if you're in Minneapolis and your business got burned, I probably wouldn't rebuild quite yet. You may want to wait until after that Chauvin trial. I know it's a said sort of tongue in cheek, but sort of true. We saw that with lots of verdicts over time, even going back to L.A. riots in the 90s. We see it time and time and time again. When these prosecutors fail to make their case, that's what happens. Because they didn't have a case to begin with. They didn't look at the evidence. They looked at the public outcry. And U.S. attorneys don't do that. And we've got a good one here in Georgia and BJ Pack.
Yes.
So the ties to the Boogaloo movement. AG Dana Nessel said that in a press conference Thursday, there's been a disturbing increase in anti-government rhetoric and the reemergence of groups that embrace extreme ideologies. Extreme ideologies, huh? The idea that the government should obey the Constitution is extreme ideology now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not the beliefs, it's the actions. And the beliefs don't necessarily equate to the actions, and they don't always escalate to actions. Obviously, more times than not, they don't.
Colonel Joe Jasper, director of the Michigan State Police, it sends a very vivid reminder that while we may be in a period of discourse with fighting across the nation, law enforcement stands united.
What a stupid statement. Law enforcement, like unification and interagency partnerships, have not been on the line. They have not been threatened. They've literally had to rely on each other because the public has by and large turned against them.
Yeah, I would like him to say that we stand up with our communities. The people of the state stand with their law enforcement against acts of violence like this. Anything like that would have been a measured and thoughtful response rather than cops stick together. Yeah, dude, that's what they've been saying is a bad thing. Trump got busted by the media for tweeting criticism after news of the thwarted plot broke. Perhaps bad timing, but when there is too soon, I'm reading your words here, it can't pretend she's immune from criticism because people targeted her.
Right. Like, I mean, he probably should have waited until today. I don't think he should have come out of the gate with his tweets about the situation, talking about her having done a terrible job. There's a lot of us who think that last night, or I'm sorry, we were recording on Friday, so I apologize. But, the night of all of this coming to light, it's just not the right time for the conversation. But if she's going to be off limits now because people have targeted her, that's inappropriate as well. Like, and I'm sure I'm sure there's up security for her family. I'm sure that it was alarming and scary to hear all of this when they were briefed on it. But she has to know that this isn't the end of criticism for her.
I hate too soon. I really do. I hate too soon. Because I guess it's because my gallows humor anyway. Our American Cousin was a mind-blowing play. That's the play that Lincoln was watching.
Yeah, but here's my thing, though. So this is what Trump said. He said, Governor Whitmer of Michigan has done a terrible job. She locked down her state for everyone except her husband's boating activities. The federal government provided tremendous help to the great people of Michigan. My Justice Department and federal law enforcement announced today that they foiled a dangerous plot against the governor of Michigan. Rather than say thank you, she calls me a white supremacist, while Biden and Democrats refuse to condemn Antifa, anarchists, looters, and mobs that burn down Democrat-run cities. I do not tolerate any extreme violence. Defending all Americans, even those who oppose and attack me, is what I will always do as your president! ! Governor Whitmer, open up your state, open up your schools, and open up your churches. Okay. First of all, by Justice Department and federal law enforcement? No. You, the people. So I mean, but even with all of his arrogance, he could have left off, "She's done a terrible job."
He could have.
Just for the night of the issue. Like, if you want to tout all day long that your Justice Department and your federal law enforcement did this bang up job, beat your chest and just leave her off of it so that we don't have to hear about you being annoying because you can't stay on the topic.
Right. And this could have been done. And I've had that same criticism of Trump. It could have been said, though Governor Whitmer and I have had our differences, I want to condemn this proposed act of violence against her. I will continue to do my level best to defend every citizen of this country against this sort of violence. I wish the Whitmer family the best, and the Justice Department will seek to prosecute these individuals to the fullest extent of the law. And look, this is not
one of those times.
This is not off the cuff comment. This is he thought about this, he wrote it, and then he looked at it and he hit send.
Right.
And I have
and
a lot.
It's one of those times. It's just one of those times where he could have taken the high road and it would have been genuine because he still would have had the opportunity to proclaim a victory, which he loves doing. But he could have won and still been true to himself and not drawn the negative media attention and made her a victim for something that she's not a victim of. Like, she shouldn't be a victim of Trump when people were trying to kidnap her. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah, and what I was saying about the off the cuff thing is I forgive off the cuff. I really do. You misspeak when you like when Trump heard about RBG. It was off the cuff, and it was actually a very classy statement that he made when he heard about Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing. Oddly enough, he was classier off the cuff than when he thinks something out. But yeah, he absolutely did turn. You're right. He turned her into a victim when he could have taken the high road. And you're right, and gotten the same point across. But he is not a scalpel; he's a hatchet, and that's what his fans love about him. Is he speaks like a grandfather from Brooklyn, because he is a grandfather from Brooklyn. But let's get to, since you read the man's part, I'll read the woman's part. Just last week, the President of the United States stood before the American people and refused to condemn white supremacists and hate groups like these two Michigan militia groups. Governor Whitmer.
Shame on her, too.
Gender bending. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, of course. I mean, shame on her. There's no indication that these men, I mean, the complaint by the DOJ, even the media, God bless them, as much as they hate Trump, they have not said or even implied that the court, like, that these men, their actions were inspired by Donald Trump.
That's coming next week.
Because they have, well, sure, we've got to space it out. But, I mean, shame on her.
Yeah, both of them are absolutely classless. Absolutely classless.
When you become elected.
Well, in the political arena, look, I'm not going to say that Whitmer is classless in her personal life, and honestly, Trump is not classless in his personal life. Every story I've heard about people who actually interacted with him is a very nice guy. But when he gets behind that keyboard, man, good God.
Yes, he's something about being able to pick a political party or claim a victory in a political realm emboldens people.
It does, and as we get it further into the election, we'll talk more about Trump fanboys versus and Republican fanboys versus actual principles. But as our time is running low, Jessica, do you have any closing thoughts?
I'm just excited that after professing that you don't boycott, you're about to talk about a boycott. Yes,
I am starting a boycott of Disney. Is it because of their anti-Trump rhetoric? No. Is it because of ESPN, owning ESPN and kneeling on TV? No. It's because they've started running Christmas commercials in October. That is something I will not stand for. It is October. Let's have Halloween. Let's have Thanksgiving, and then let's talk about Christmas. I promise you, if you put baby Jesus right next to devil masks, I'm going to do some shady stuff at Walmart.
God.
So, on that note, thank you to Eric Cumby, our editor. Thank you for Jessica Szilagyi. I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.